Welcome to the Black Men Think podcast. If this is your first time here, know that the views and opinions expressed by the Black Men Think podcast are those of the Black Men Think podcast and not the individual members. With that being said, we're about to be unapologetically, undeniably black. Enjoy.
Yeah, man, it's 2022, bro. 2022.
We are here.
We're here.
We have made it, bro, and that's a blessing. That's
Yeah.
definitely a blessing. Something worth
definitely a blessing.
celebrating.
Definitely a blessing.
It's people, we know people who did not, man. So it's a blessing to be here, man. Thankful, bro.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Definitely. I'm definitely thankful for sure. But with all that being said, right, we started a podcast in a pandemic, and the podcast has, to our surprise, has been a very successful podcast thus far, and we've been able to do some exciting things, and we hope to do even more exciting things here in the near future. But I wanted to know, I got one question for you. Just one question. What do you think has been the most impactful thing about the podcast so far?
Most impactful things about Black Men Think. Man, honestly, bro, I think it goes back to why we set out to do this in the first place. And that was to give Black men a voice, or even more so, let me say it like this, to redeem the Black voice, the Black man voice. I believe every moment that we have shared with our listeners has done that, or at least I would hope we could say that it's on its way to doing so, man. Because for one, we know we've been unapologetically, undeniably Black while on here, but the voice needed to be redeemed from those who wanted to speak for us, man. And more than ever, man, for me personally, I just speak for me, to have the opportunity to dive deep on the things that we talk about in our episodes. I mean, gosh, we've had episodes over code switching and being the token Black guy, over having, church daddy issues, or being a PK and having, church issues, or, I mean, just being able to honestly share the anger that we felt about, all the struggles for Black people, for people of color, on the Black Men Think podcast, man. For me, that has been beyond impactful. And then to be able to say those things from our voices, nobody else speaking for us, I hope that it leaves a mark and an imprint in people's lives the way that it left one in mine.
No, that's my answer. That's real. I'm listening to you, and I'm just having to like kind of sit back and think. I'm so glad that we did this, right? Like, we had several ideas of what we wanted to do, and this was kind of like fourth quarter. You know what I mean? Because for y'all that don't know, we had a completely different idea of a podcast that we were working on.
Yeah.
And while that podcast had some glimpses of what we're doing here at Black Men Think, this idea of Black Men Think came at the very last minute, and we started from scratch, and we were able to bring those ideas back to the table and make what we have here now, right? And so I'm just, first off, just super excited and happy for us as a collective, as a crew of like going on what this is about to be 20 years of friendship, that we did what we wanted to do, right, with the podcast. And so that's first and foremost. For me, I just to piggyback off what you said, Mo, we're having important conversations, and we're having them in our own voice. There's nobody speaking for us on these conversations. We're speaking on them. And I think that's super important and super critical in a time where our stories are being told, but just, sometimes we're not in the room. You know what I mean? And so now that we're in the room and we're able to have these stories and have these conversations and speak in a way to one another to where we understand it, even when sometimes the topic may be taboo, we understand it because it's us talking to us, right? So I think that's super important, and I'm thankful that we're able to fill that void because while I'm not saying it hasn't been done, of course it's been done. Um, we're doing it in a very unique way because we're literally taking our group chat
Yeah.
to the microphone. Like
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. So anything that we talk about here, trust me, at some point in time, it has been talked about in the 7 group chat. Like it is what it is, bro. So like
Yep.
I'm thankful for that we're able to do what we did. But I'll say the most impactful moment for me is when we had I gotta find her name because I do not want to forget her name.
Is it Nicola Robinson, bro?
Yep.
Was it estate planning?
Estate planning. That estate planning episode.
Episode 36, man.
Episode 36. Episode 36. So if y'all haven't, go back and listen to the episode. Is in the importance of estate planning. And just in a very transparent moment, we had that conversation before my dad had passed. Actually, my dad was at the time of when that released, it was like right around Christmas time last year. So my dad was like in a coma at that time, unresponsive. And so my brain was all over the place of what, just kind of, so the conversation itself was super important to me. And while we're still working on those things, it was just helpful to have someone who is versed in having those conversations and shedding the importance, like to have that to where, it was just, I think, important for us to have that to where other people can hear that. And at least it may have sparked a conversation in your family, right? Like even if they didn't get it done, it sparked a conversation. So I just think that's so important, man, because us as Black people, we have to get into the rhythm of leaving a legacy and not leaving a responsibility, leaving a burden, leaving a job for somebody else to do, right? Yeah. Like that's what we are. That's what we have done. I'm not saying that, because we're all progressing, but that's what we have traditionally done. And I just want us as Black people to know that there's another way, right? Yeah. And so that conversation that we had was so important, and I was just super thankful that we were able to have that conversation. So you said that was episode 36, right? So yeah, if y'all haven't, please go back and listen to that episode. Trust me, it's very, the tools that are in there are very worth it. And if you need an estate planning attorney, talk to her because she knows her stuff and she's great.
Absolutely. I think impact for me, man, gosh, and we've probably touched on this topic in so many different ways. From I mentioned, I think in a recent or in a Patreon episode that we might have released. I think I mentioned it in that episode, but like the episode intentional tokenality. I don't remember off the top of my head what episode number that was, but even when we started the podcast, we had the episode situational Blackness.
Oh yeah, that was the first episode.
Yeah, the first full episode we had. And I know that topic has kind of jumped into different conversations in its own way, but having like that safe space to really talk about some of those things that we don't get to say in public, bro. Like,
yeah.
Talking about what it's like to be in an environment where you are the minority and yet feeling like you are challenged to code switch just to survive, or moments where you want to be authentically you, but it's either shunned away, it's either devalued, looked down upon, or it's just frankly not appropriate to those that are in the room. that stuff is deep, man. That stuff affects us as people, as Black men. But to be able to have that environment to dive deep and to be able to share how that affects us, boldly be able to say like what we need to see it and how we want to, change that environment, actually empowers me to go back and do that, man. So
Mm,
honestly, it challenges me as we talk about these things. I get to dump, I get to unload, I get to hear thoughts from other brothers who have experienced different facets of the conversation. And all together, man, I think what we are producing are the keys, the tools that hopefully will help somebody,
right, right.
who could be experiencing something similar. So for me, that's one of the most impactful topics, if you will, across all of our. And gosh, man, we talk about a lot of good stuff, bro. I mean, I never forget being able to share my truth with Sinai Lathan. you know,
Bro, I already
give it a
told you.
phone.
That's
Give it a phone.
give it a phone. Give it a phone. Give it a phone.
Y'all got to go hear that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. I mean, man, we've had some great moments. It was what did I think about like even having the joint account. I think that
Oh
was a
yeah,
good
yeah,
conversation. Joint account. Um, overall, I just think those are the opportunity to have engaging conversations is
yeah.
something that I just look back on 2021 and was just like so thankful to be able to do so. I mean, I learned a lot about myself in 2021, bro. Like just it's funny because like you learn things about yourself that you knew, but I guess it helped, and of course this podcast has definitely helped do this, but this helped cultivate some of those thoughts that you may have had about yourself. Like it just confirmation that okay, this is who I am, this is what I like and what I appreciate, and having a platform where I can be unapologetic about those things, I think really reaffirms to me that like okay, I'm not tripping. Like, no, this is this is how I feel, and this is how I'm going to express it, and you know, we're just going to go from there. So I'm just super thankful for all of those moments. I don't know about you, bro. Like, I've never been a huge um resolution, New Year's resolution type person. I've,
Hmm.
I mean, I've made them like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
else. Like, of course, I made them, but I am the type of person that I am is I'm like a do the work type, right?
yeah,
But I've also realized that if I don't want to do the work, I ain't gonna do it. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And so while that's a good thing, that can also be a bad thing as well. But I just realized that about myself that, if I set a goal, I'm only gonna complete that goal if I'm passionate about completing
Yeah.
it. And if I'm not compassionate about completing it, it may take me longer, but I'll eventually get to it. But it's kind of like I just got to be passionate about it for me to complete it in a faster than other things. I guess I would say so. It has to be
Yeah.
one of those type moments for me.
I I'm also not a, like you said, I've done resolutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
The typical from lose this amount of weight, go to the gym every day. I've even entered years, fasting and
Mm-hmm.
and trying to kind of recalibrate and come into the year strong. And in many ways, a lot of those things trail off. They don't last. Um, for me, it's hard to to create resolutions per se
Mm-hmm.
because I personally am a very purpose driven type of person
Mm-hmm.
where I don't necessarily have full belief. Well, let me say it like this. It's not that I don't have belief that I control the outcome
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. So going back to like the resolution saying I'm going to do this, I'm resolving to make this change or make this shift or make this adjustment. it's not that I don't have impact. It's not that I don't have influence, influence in the outcome, but I more so believe that the purpose behind those things, I don't necessarily create. Like I believe I'm a part of a bigger story, bigger picture. Obviously, I'm a faith-led person. I've shared that in many ways on this podcast. I believe God has shaped and molded me for specific purposes and reasons that shift and change across my entire my entire life over the years. And in a moment, in a split second, it may shift, and I need to be in tune with what he's saying and what he's doing, what he's already done, in a sense, so that I'm aware of what I need to do in the moment. And so it's not that I necessarily am against resolutions. I just feel like I shouldn't bind myself to those.
Okay.
I need to be more focused on what the moment is requiring of me, or what the moments are requiring of me, so that I can shift and adjust and be in tune with the purpose that's, that he's alive. So I more so, I've always been like this, man. Like I'm an only child. So at the end of my days growing up, I'll never forget, like, I would legit lay in my bed awake, and I would ponder how the day went. And I would think about what I could have done differently. It's probably weird to say this, even looking back, like as a preteen and a teenager, like these were thoughts going through a young head, right? And I guess I just had a lot of time to myself to have these moments to think like that. But that's how I kind of assess the day. I was like, did I do all I could do? Or who did I influence? What did I say? How did I say it? And I became very in tune with those moments. And I think in that, man, God, like, honestly used that time to speak to me about who I am and about who he created me to be. And, obviously forming a deeper relationship with Jesus and all of that is like what those small moments were. It's really conversation with him when I think back about it, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I'm not just thinking about my life. I'm thinking about like what he's saying about it. And the next day I wake up and I have all that in mind, and I try to go do it better or go adjust. And that's kind of how I view the years. You know what I'm saying? Like, last year was what it was. Nothing I would change about it, whether good or bad. The experiences that I had were for me. I learned from them. If I didn't learn from them, I'm going to have another opportunity, prayerfully, to learn from them. But what is he saying about today? Like, what is he saying about right now and in the moment? And what does that mean for me or the people around me,
Right. No, that's interesting, man. I think so. I saw this thing talk about, it was a quote from somebody. Yeah, I don't know if it was really the person that said the quote. You know how it is on social media, man. You see something and it's there, and you don't know exactly the origin of it, but it was profound. But they were talking about time and how time is like that only thing that everyone has, but you can't buy it, but everybody has it, right? And it depends on how you spend it. It can change your life, period, right? So, and I know I slaughtered that. So whoever has the correct quote, feel free to let us know exactly.
Send it over
because I slaughtered that. But time is one of those things that you really don't understand how precious it is until it's gone, for real, right? Like, you really don't understand the importance of time itself, right? And time, of course, is relative to everyone's different situation, right? Like, so for me, I can say that, man, the wife and I didn't realize how much time we used to spend together prior to having kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, like, not having kids with us this week, we were able to, like, I mean, we probably went out to eat maybe like five, 6 times, like something, which we normally don't do, right? Or if we do go out, it's something quick, like, oh, we might go to Chick-fil-A with the kids or something like that. But like, we went out restaurants, dine in or take out like 5 or 6 times over the week. And but through that, we had a conversation where we was talking about, like, man, just like time, because when the kids are here, so much of your time is surrounded by them, right? Like when they get up, you know, I'll use my wife for example. She gets up super early so she can have time to herself before like the kids get up,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
I'm up later to have time to myself while
Yeah.
everyone else is asleep, pretty much, right? So that, but those things that we have to do because of circumstances in our lives, right? So that's what I mean by when time is relative, because for you, it may be different. Like our situation is similar because we both married with kids. So, you know, your time is a little bit different than mine because you have 4 kids, I have 2 kids. So, you know,
Sure.
but at the end of the day, time is that one thing, bro. Like we all have, right? We all get it, but we choose how to use it. And
Yeah.
I just think that we have to be super intentional with our time. If you feel that you're scrolling on IG too much, like, bro, just delete the app. Guess what?
Period.
You can download the app again, log back in, and everything is still going to be there, right? But you have to, even though, like, I know we're both iPhone users, but like when you get the screen report, bro, like sometimes I don't even really look at it. Like I was just like, oh, okay, cool, and scroll up from the web. Sometimes you got to look at it and see really how you spending your time. And if
That's
you're
a good point.
noticing that you're spending certain time in this area, bro, like just cut off a little bit of it. That's it. I mean, you know, I'm not saying, and I'm not even trying to pick on social media. Like it could be anything. If you noticing that you spend time browsing on websites where it's like, okay, well, cool. Well, what websites are you browsing on your phone?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, because if you're just like aimlessly on Amazon, then like maybe you need to chill off Amazon for whatever it is. Like, just find a way to prioritize your time a little bit more, and you can take baby steps in prioritizing that time. Just take out one small thing. If that means deleting the app, that means putting on your focus
Mm.
time on your phone. If that means like going to sleep 30 minutes earlier for a week, whatever that is, like just figure it out and just do it and try to execute it because man, time is like bro,
Bro,
we about to be 20 years in, bro. Like legit
you
20 years.
you legit just spoke to me, bro. Like I think I just had an epiphany, man. Like I'm just gonna say this. Like I think time is probably the thing that people take for granted the most
Mm-hmm.
out of anything in life. We take time for granted. But 9 times out of 10, we don't use time like the tool that it really is, right? Time is it should be a tool
Right.
that we wield um, you know, at our will. I'll say it again just so it's clear. Time should be a tool that we wield at our will because as long as we're aware of it and as long as we have it, um, it challenges us to use it valuably, right? Like as opposed to wasting it. And we get it. Like we live in an environment and in a world that has many ways that you can enjoy time. It's enjoyable wasting in a sense, like I
Mm-hmm.
mean, granted, if we're social media, doing social media or at a movie, watching Netflix, at a Braves game, shout out to the world champs, by the way, at a Falcons game, wasting time. And yes, I say that as an Atlanta fan. I'm just gonna just put it out there how it is, man. Heartbreak. And sidebar, dogs, we need you to win the national championship, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
And
we need that.
depending on when this episode releases, we'll know the results of that. But that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, we choose the amount of space and time that we waste, or at least that we purpose for, let's just say it as purposeless things, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, not a bad thing.
Sometimes it's just mental health. Sometimes it's just unwinding or turning your brain off so that you can refresh. We talked about that in episodes before. But everything else, man, it should be wielded as a tool. Like we should be so aware of the moments that we have, the moments that are coming, and honestly, the moments that we've missed. that it helps us to frame the time that we're living in so that we redeem the time that we have, use it to the best of its ability for whatever purpose it should be used to, right? From the smallest things of like the things you need to research in order to make you better at whatever it is that you want to achieve, to the time that we take for granted when our kids are growing up, when our family members are around us. Bro, I think about it all the time, man. I mean, you share, passionately, memories and moments about your father. And I think about the amount of time that I actually spend doing things where I should be investing more space and time with the parents that I have that are getting older and older. And yet those small moments that I have with them are often eaten up by other needs, right? Like kids being around, pick up, drop off if they're keeping the grandkids, small talk. But I'm not actually investing space and time into some of the people that I don't know how much time I have left with. And I'm just venting, man. I'm honestly just sharing, bro. Like this is something that I need to ponder a little more, especially at the top of this year. Yeah.
It's and thank you for sharing that too, bro, because it's something that, I mean, no matter how old we get, we all think we got time. Like, we just think we got time, so, and it's so crazy because you said something that time is the one thing that we all take for granted, right? And at the same time, we all think that we have time. And the crazy part of all of those statements are no one knows the time.
No one knows. It's crazy.
So it's crazy, bro. Like it gets into a different conversation that we don't necessarily have to have, but like that's faith for people that want to know what faith is. That's faith. We take time for granted. We don't appreciate the time. We always think we have time and we don't know the time. That's really,
it sounds insane.
it sounds insane, but it's when you really think about it, it's faith, right? Because and I'm gonna break it down just very slightly. I can. So we look at the taking time for granted part, right? It's faith in that because we feel that, oh man, I'll be able to do it. So we're operating with the mentality that I can get it done at a later time, right? So that's faith that I can get it done later. Not knowing how much time we have, we operate in faith in that way because, look, bro, we could be recording this podcast right now and it can be over right now. Like, and that sounds very drastic, but that's just the reality because we don't know. It could be a health issue. It can be whatever you can think of. Anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we still do stuff with the mentality of like, oh, it's cool, bro. Like,
I'll do it tomorrow.
I'll do it tomorrow. Or, you want to knock out this podcast tonight? Sure. Like, we'll schedule this podcast like 2 hours in advance or something like that.
Right.
And we'll be chatting on the phone with each other probably for like 2 hours leading up to the podcast, right? Like, but the reality is we scheduled time not knowing if we were going to have time. You know what I'm saying? I know it sounds like I'm going in circles, but like, bro, like time is really a crazy thing when you really just sit back and just ponder on it. Like, just like, bro, we make all of these plans and we have no idea if we're going to be able to do these plans. We just like make them on straight faith.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Time is a gift, bro. Like,
it's a gift.
Being that we are not the creators and makers of time itself, we don't control it. Even it's funny, even you saying that, I feel, and it's not that what I said was foolish, but it's just the foolishness of assuming that we can wield it. That it's a tool and it's not even in our control. It's a gift. It's something that's handed to us for free. We didn't deserve it. We didn't do anything to earn it. Half the time, we don't do anything to keep it, or we don't do anything to earn the right to keep it. Yet it's constantly given to us, and we keep fumbling it. And so, if anything, man, like the message is like, what, or maybe the question is, what are you going to do with your time in 2022?
Mm.
What are you going to do with your time? You know, I mean, whatever. And I'm just gonna speak to the people, man, and even to myself and us at the same time. Like, whatever just hit your mind as soon as I ask that question is what you should be doing.
100%.
So don't
100%.
so like don't try to like talk yourself out of it real
Yeah.
quick.
Like you just
'Cause
got
that's
it,
what we
just
do.
did. You got
You just
oh
got it.
yeah. Yeah, you just got it. Like as soon as you said
Yeah.
it, we all thought of something. We all thought of something. As soon as you said something, said that,
Yeah.
we all thought of something. So like, and here's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Just to piggyback off what you just said, Mo, we all thought of something when you made that statement. But you don't have to hold yourself just to that. Do that
Yeah.
and then think about what else. And
Right.
then do that. You know what I'm saying? Like because
Yeah.
it's so easy that we can get discouraged and now we're trying to talk ourselves out of like, oh man, that's too big, or bro, perfect example right here. Like these are goals. Like my wife and I, we go through our family, financial, personal,
Yeah.
all of that. One of my personal goals for this year is fishing trips with my siblings, right?
Mm.
And particularly my two older brothers, but definitely want my sister to go too. And the only reason why that is there because in 2019, one of my goals was to take my dad on a fishing trip.
Mm.
And we didn't get the chance to do it. And we talked about doing it for a couple of years, but we just never got to do it. And so it's like, all right, we need to do this. And even if that's just something for celebration with my dad, it don't even have to be a celebration with my dad. It's just something about spending time with my siblings, because guess what? All my siblings are grown now. Like my sister is 21. Like she's an adult now. Like she's a grown woman for real. Can go and buy alcohol, can go and she can do whatever she want to do at this age now. Like she's a real adult. And I spent the first adult time with my sister a couple of weeks ago. Like this was the first time that we spent that was adult time. It wasn't on no, oh, you was up here because like, mom was up here. It wasn't that. It was like, and it happened because her and my cousin was supposed to go to a concert. The concert got canceled. And I was their ride to the concert. And we was like, y'all want to just like go and get something to eat and hang out?
Yeah.
So like I hung out with my sister and my cousin, and we just like sat, ate dinner, had drinks, and just was like chilling, talking about like adult life stuff and like having real conversations. Nothing on any like surface level. Like we was having real conversations. And I was like, dang, I was like, man, this is the first time I really had that I've spent this type of time with my sister, because we have a huge age gap. Like I'm 16 years older than my sister. So it's hard to not see my baby sister. But this was like, no, like we having a real talk. And she shared some things with me that while I knew about them, I didn't know how she felt about them until we had conversations like that we had. And so I was like, okay, I got to do that more with my younger brother. I got to do that more with my older brother. Just like be super intentional with our time together.
That's real. That's real. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you just challenged me to like start writing down these things that I'm hearing to answer that question. What am I gonna do with my time? So I'll share a few of them, man. Like the first thing that came to my mind was spend more time with my parents. And not just time that's like I said, it's not time that they're doing something for me or I'm doing something for them. It's being with them. I'm their only child and they're getting older. Every time I see them, I'm reminded of that. I'm like, man, my parents are getting older. Like, and I should gift them for the rest of their days, however long that is,
Mhm.
with their son, with space and time with their son. And so I want to make sure I start that this year, and don't let things get in the way of that. I also wrote down, man, just growing closer to God, and really experiencing this new space as a believer in Jesus. Like for me personally, and regardless of what your faith and your worldview is, I think it's important that you have a grasp on who's in control
Mhm.
of life. For me, and we've talked a lot on our podcast about faith, and just what our experiences with church has been, and I got a lot to explore with that, and I just want to dive deeper into that, so that this new space and this new awareness that I'm in, is what it should be. And so I got a lot of digging with that. I want to give my wife another one. I want to give her like the full version of me this year. Um, this is gonna be like, we're going on our 10-year anniversary,
Mhm.
which is amazing. I know me and you got married in the same month, so
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
you
10.
approaching yours too. 10, man, that's crazy. But like, with recent conversations and things that we've been sharing together, my wife and I, about how much I want to become free enough to say and share what's on my brain, my head, my mind, what I'm pondering, the things that I'm challenged with, um, as soon as they're there, as opposed to like trying to figure them out on my own. And granted, there's room for that, but not like with the intentionality of only doing it on my own. It's like breaking out of that and like bringing her closer in and deeper in, so that she can partner with me with those things that are hard for me. And I can do the same for her.
Right.
I want to bring her in closer, and that means I got to dive deeper in me, but I got to take her with me. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and she's excited for that, and so am I. And then and the fourth thing I wrote is I want to invest time into my kids, man. Like I got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. We deep over here, and they're all very young. And it's very easy with that type of dynamic to just kind of let the environment be what it is. But I'm realizing, bro, I got to be real intentional about each one of them.
Yeah.
And each one of them have different needs, and I have to learn what those needs are and find time. It's my responsibility as their father to find time for each one of them, the time that they need, not just time that I have and I give what I have, but like, what do my daughters need? What do my sons need? What do they need collectively, and what do they need individually? And that's what I want to spend some time doing this year, because I don't want to miss those moments, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
No, that's real, man. That's especially with the kids too, bro, because it's so easy to get wrapped up and caught up in your own, that you forget, like, we know that the kids need you, right? That's just, you know, but it's so easy to forget that, like, bro, like, they are growing minds, and they're
It's crazy.
different. And no matter, even though we know that your kids are different, we try. But for the most part, especially as you get more kids, you try to like do a system. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, I did this with the first one, I'm trying to do this with the second one. And you quickly find out that, like, no, they completely different. Like, what you did for this one don't work for this one, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I know that my oldest is a firecracker. Like, she is gonna do what she wants to do. She's gonna explore. She's gonna be loud. She's gonna, that's just who she is. But my youngest is quiet.
Yeah.
But if you rub her the wrong way, she's gonna let you know about it. So
Yeah.
I have to, but within that, I have to nurture both of those relationships completely different. And while they may have some similarities and they like to do certain things, I have to realize that, like, okay, cool. my youngest loves spending time with her dad. Like she would be, if she was up right now, she would be right
Mm-hmm.
here
Mm-hmm.
trying to get on the computer. Like she's like glued to the hip of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my oldest loves being around her mom until it's time to be around dad. And then she's just like, yo, I'm not getting no attention. So I'm doing everything, even though sometimes it could be bad things just to get the
Mm-hmm.
attention that she needs. And so I have to do a better job of recognizing that, yo, you might be getting on my nerves right now, but you really just need my attention. So like, let me
Mm-hmm.
stop what I'm doing because this stuff is not important.
Mm-hmm.
I can take a pause from work. You know, I can, whatever it is, like it can be put on pause, bro. Go over here and like find out exactly what she needs. And then if
Yeah.
you realize very quickly that, bro, the kids will tell you exactly what they want from you if you just ask them. Like, yeah, what do you want? Daddy, I want to dance. Will you dance with me? And now we're having a dance party because all she wanted to do was dance with daddy. That's all she wanted
Yeah.
to do. But daddy was too busy on the computer thinking that you're being annoying because like why you see him working, like no, she don't see you working. What she sees you on the computer like doing nothing when you could be in here
Right.
dancing with me. So, you know, it's just those things like that, man. Just being super intentional and being understandable with your kids too, man. Just knowing like, man, they need you because it's gonna come a time where like, bro, they ain't really gonna be paying you too much attention. So you better
Yeah.
you better
Yeah.
enjoy these moments now.
Yeah. That's real.
Enjoy the moments
That's real,
now.
man.
Let's see. See if we got Ask a Black Man real quick so we can close this thing out. It's been a good conversation tonight though, man. We
Yeah,
started
it has, man.
by going over some random things. How fitting this is. And you know what? I think we already answered this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. If there was an extra hour every day, what would you do with it? That's God there, bro. Like how did I get that question out of all the things that we've been talking about?
Wow.
Today? Yeah.
Wow. If there was an extra hour, man,
Every day. So 25 hours a day instead of 24.
Bro, you know what's so sad about it and what's so convicting is I don't know if what I'm gonna say is actually anything productive. And I don't know if I also don't know if I would say that I would rest more. Like I would
I
probably
know. Yeah.
find I would probably find an extra hour to waste, honestly.
That's a
Because
very honest. Yeah, that's a very honest answer.
for me, like that wasted time sometimes feels so therapeutic because it's just whatever I decide to do with it when the rest of my days are usually decided for me in a sense.
Yeah.
Um yeah, so I mean that's yeah.
No, and that's fine, bro. That's fine. I mean, what
Yeah.
now if you want to clean it up, self-care for an hour.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Olivia Pope has spoken.
there you go. Yeah, you would use that extra hour for self-care. If I had an extra hour, man, an extra hour every day. So we're talking about 7 hours a week. I would. Okay.
What you got?
I would tell the job that I work for now that I can only work 3 days out the week.
100%.
Yeah, because I got an extra hour, so I mean that's 7 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah. I would. I was like, yeah, I'm only available 3 days out the week. That extra day,
No, that's real.
that other day that I work, just like adding for those that extra hour. That there you go. You can have those. There you go.
No,
So
that's real.
technically, I'll give that. So in short, I'll give that hour away to be at home an extra day with my family. Yeah. An extra week. Yeah, extra day with my family. Yeah, there you go.
Well, we need our listeners to tell us what they would do with that extra hour.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know. Send us a DM, comment directly on this podcast. However, you need to get in contact with us. Let us know. What would you do with an extra hour every day?
Every single day.
Every single day. What would you do with it?
Bro. I have to share something with you
Yeah, go ahead.
that I found out, but I'm gonna share it with you in the Patreon.
All right, that's
It is.
good.
Let me preview it though, because I need
Okay.
our listeners to come over there and hear this. For those listeners that know, if you know, you know, Watch Night Service, right?
Mm-hmm.
I found out what the history of Watch Night Service is, and it has nothing to do with church.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna share it with you.
Go to Patreon right now.
The Black Men Think Podcast.